Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be showing you how we built the baby tortoises outdoor enclosures by repurposing some raised beds we had in our garden. The plan was to have this larger area here for the baby leopard tortoises, with a second smaller enclosure for any hatchling leopards, then an enclosure here for baby Indian stars. Then over this side I would have 4 different enclosures, one for juvenile Greeks, one for hatchling Greeks, then a couple of spare enclosures for holiday tortoises. We got to work straight away on the baby leopard's enclosure. The first job was to completely dig out all the non-tortoise safe weeds by the roots. This area wasn't too bad as it was mainly grass with a few buttercups, which we dug up. The boards at the bottom of this enclosure weren't too bad either, so we left these in place. After cutting 45-degree angles to create stakes, we then hammered in some posts at all the corners, also checking the post was straight using a spirit level every 2 to 3 whacks of the hammer. Each stake was about 1 to 1.5 feet down into the ground, so it was nice and solid. Next, we moved on to the sides. These decking boards were repurposed from an old enclosure I had many years ago, so it was great to reuse these. The back of the enclosure was 3 boards high and the front was 2 boards high to create a slope for rainwater to slide off once the lids were on. Next, the stakes were cut flush with the top of the boards, and then everything was stained, making sure to protect any grass or other tortoise food from paint splashes. It was quite exciting at this point to see it taking shape. Just a small matter of getting the lids made and planting it out. This raised bed was an odd shape, it was easier to cut and build the lid in situ. I also needed the lids to be in sections and fairly lightweight, so they were easy for me to lift on and off as I do it many times a day in the summer. The plan was to have 3 separate lids here, here and here. The wood was cut to size, then the corners screwed together and also fixed with these brackets, so it was nice and secure. Next, we put in supports to give it some strength. In hindsight, we should have put in some extra supports on the larger lids, but they do work okay if I'm careful. Then it was over to the painting station to paint up the frames. I did a couple of coats of paint, and then it was time to fix the mesh. All the items that I used will be in the description if you want to make something similar for your tortoises. This mesh was fairly lightweight, so I would recommend a thicker, stronger mesh if you have foxes, cats or large birds like hawks in your garden. I cut the mesh to size using wire snips and then stapled it to the frame. Any overlapping pieces of mesh were fixed together with wire. And here are the first 2 lids in place for the baby leopards area. You can see the 3rd lid at the top, and I'll give a quick tour of the new enclosure. There's still some more planting to do, but as it was ready for the leopards, I was keen to get them out in the sunshine. Here are some of the older ones, and here are some of the hatchlings. Even though there is lots of long grass here for them to hide in, it's important to also add in some hides or shade for the tortoises as well. As a general rule, I recommend 1/3 shade to 2/3 sun. This will of course vary with the size of the enclosure, tortoises and temperatures, but will be enough to get you started. It is very important to also include a water bowl. Here are the baby leopards. They seem to be enjoying themselves in their fancy new enclosure. Moving on to the next enclosure for the baby Indian stars. This one was a little easier as we built it from scratch since the existing raised bed was rotten. Here are the baby stars enjoying some sunshine. And then finally we moved on to the bigger raised bed. Here we replaced any rotten boards, built up the height of it, and then also added in these partitions to make more enclosures. These partitions can be removed when the babies have grown up and need more space. In the juvenile Greek tortoise enclosure, I sprinkled some Greek tortoise seed mix. Moving on to the baby Greeks, this area has been freshly dug over with a layer of organic topsoil ready for sprinkling on the tortoise seeds. And onto these final sections, I'm part way through digging over and removing any weeds. There will be another partition here for a holiday tortoise enclosure, which will be planted out with tortoise-safe weeds and flowers. And finally, this one here as another holiday tortoise enclosure, which will be planted out to include grasses for a grass-loving species. and then I'll plant other shrubs and plants for the little ones to hide under once this is established. And this enclosure is ready for the juvenile Greek tortoises. There's something really satisfying seeing your tortoises munch down on the food that you've grown for them. This enclosure isn't quite ready for the hatchling Greek tortoises, but I wanted them to enjoy some sunshine and stretch their legs in this big enclosure. At least they will be easy to find at the end of the day when I bring them back indoors again. I hope you enjoyed this video and found some inspiration for your tortoise enclosures. And if you did, please click the thumbs up, subscribe and share with your tortoise friends. Thanks for watching.